Hey guys, it's Casey at Freefall Data Systems, and I'm here to give you guys a tour of the FDS Altis app for our audible altimeter SonoAlti. Now this app exists for Android devices as well with the same functionality, but we're going to be using the iOS version in this video. The apps are free and can be found on Google Play or the App Store. So before using the app, you're going to have to switch on Bluetooth on your SonoAlti. And to use the app and altimeter, you'll first be required to read and agree to the terms of service. You might also, at that point, be required to give the app permission to access your location or access to your photos, as the app's designed to be able to save photos of your jump graphs to your device. You'll then see a menu that you won't be able to access until you connect. So go ahead and press the connect button, and you should see your altimeter listed. This one happens to be number 12. It also might be listed as Freefall Data Systems Alti. And go ahead and select your altimeter and begin downloading the data. This takes a little bit longer on Android devices. So now you have access to your altimeter through your mobile device, which is a lot better than fiddling around with the buttons and that little screen on the device itself. Okay, I'm going to start from the bottom of the menu and work my way up, and SonoAlti information is going to give you all of this information, basically jumps on the unit, jumps that you've done, freefall canopy time on the unit, data manufacturer, hardware, software version, serial number, and then you can also check the battery there. If we go back, we get to the last jump profile, and here you can see what your last jump number was, freefall canopy time, average freefall vertical speed, average canopy vertical speed, as well as your top recorded vertical speed. And below that, you're going to see basically two graphs. First is an altitude time graph showing your altitude in feet over time, and there's a data point every 2 seconds. You can also change the graph like this, and you can save it to your photos to share with friends. And then there's also a vertical speed time graph that shows your vertical descent speed in miles per hour over time. There's also a data point every 2 seconds for those graphs. Okay, now let's take a look at what makes SonoAlti so powerful. If you go to SonoAlti settings, you're basically going to see general settings, your freefall, ascent and canopy alarms, and then speed tracker. But let's take a look at each of these individually. At the top you can see you got freefall alarm, canopy alarm, speed tracker alarm, ascent alarm, and all those can be adjusted individually. And just a note, if you're racing around really fast setting things like this, you notice that the value jumps back to where it was. That means that it didn't set. So you can be sure that it's set if you move the slider and it stays there. And below that you can see you can actually also change the frequency of the alarms. So, and the tempo. And then we have a landing zone offset below that. Default is of course 0. If you're landing below where you take off, use a negative number here. So if I'm landing 200 feet below, I would put in minus 200 if my landing zone is lower than where I'm taking off. And of course if you're landing higher than you take off, then you go ahead and use a positive number. Otherwise use 0. And then below that you can see several modes that SonoAlti can be used in. In swoop mode, what that's going to do is basically it's going to turn off all freefall alarms below 1500 feet, and it's going to raise what SonoAlti considers to be freefall, the threshold, from 80 miles per hour to 100 miles per hour. Wingsuit mode is going to lower what SonoAlti considers to be freefall from 80 miles per hour to 40 miles per hour. You can actually also combine these, and what that would do would be to lower the threshold to 40 miles per hour. And if you're crazy like that, you like to swoop in a wingsuit, it will turn off all of your freefall alarms below 1500 feet. Then below that, of course, you can see that you can turn on and off speed tracker. We'll get to that feature in a second. And you can set your next jump number, total freefall time, total canopy time. You can reset the altimeter. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the freefall alarms. You can see that the defaults are 6,000, 4,500, and 3,000 feet, basically 3 alarms. And these freefall alarms do take top priority over all the other types of alarms that SonoAlti has, so canopy alarms, speed tracker, and ascent alarms. So if you're falling at freefall speeds at that altitude, if you're, God forbid, at 1,500 feet or something like that, these freefall alarms will go off instead of any other type of alarm. And you can set up to 8 of these. When you're setting these, make sure that you turn them on as well. Don't just, you got to set the altitude here, right? Actually, they have to be in order, so you need to set them from the highest to the lowest. So 2,000 feet if I wanted to put one. Put one there, and you can select from up to 64 different sounds. And you can find actually all those alarms listed on freefalldatasystems.com/SonoAlti, and you can listen to them all and see whether they're intended for freefall or for canopy or ascent, because about half the alarms are intended for freefall and about half of them are intended for canopy because of their acoustic characteristics. Okay, moving to the canopy alarms. These are second in order of precedence of all the alarms, and they're set in exactly the same way. And you have to start from the highest and go down. The default's 1,600 and 300 feet. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Set them the same way. Okay, let's go ahead and move to speed tracker. And what speed tracker does is basically emit a series of beeps according to your vertical descent speed. And remember, you have to turn this on in general settings in order to use it. And there are 12 different settings. There are low speed, high speed, and wide range settings. And it might help some jumpers in general settings to slow down the tempo of the alarms a little bit, to make it maybe a little bit easier to discern the beep pattern that you're hearing in freefall. And this feature works better on certain types of jumps than others. If you're being seriously burbled or you're really dynamic in your motion, changing in the air a lot, then you could get some pretty noisy, or you should get some pretty erratic readings because it is a barometric altimeter. All right, last thing I want to do is look at the ascent alarms. And basically, the default is that there is one single ascent alarm at 1,000 feet. And but you could also set up to 8 of those, and you can see that this one also had a second one set at 10,000 feet to play the 3 blind mice. Alright, that gives you guys an overview of the FDS Altis app for SonoAlti. Visit freefalldatasystems.com to purchase a SonoAlti or for more info.